If you love hurricanes, daiquiris, and, well, any rum cocktail, listen up. Captain Morgan's about to shake things up like never before. We're talking Bourbon Street, New Orleans, home to legendary drinks and unforgettable moments. But what if we told you the most iconic cocktails here have one thing in common? Hint, it's not bourbon. That's right, it's rum. And Captain Morgan is bringing unforgettable fun to Bourbon Street in a way you won't want to miss. Get ready for something big as we gear up for Super Bowl 59. Make sure to keep your eyes on NOLA's most iconic street. Who knows, Bourbon Street might just need a new name. Stay tuned for clues and get ready for the most legendary adventure yet. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company, New York, New York.
Of Reese on the radio. Whack FM.
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
Hey, what's going on, all you scallywags out there? You know what time it is. It's time for the world's most hated and most racist online show in America. It's the Reese on the Radio Rundown with yours truly, Reese on the radio. And thank you all for joining us. It is my pleasure to have you here, as it is your pleasure to be here. Let's get this dumb ish out of the way, folks. That is a llama. Let me explain to you what that llama is, for those of you who don't know. So apparently a couple of friends of mine who thought that they were being cute or funny, unfortunately. Let's take the glare out of that. That llama was purchased by two good friends of mine, Apple and Dave. Sarah and Dave, but I call her Apple. They bought this, and this is so stupid. It probably would have worked. Maybe they shouldn't have given it up, because it would have driven me crazy. They had sat around dinner, the two of them and my girlfriend, and decided that they were just going to pick some weird thing that they were just going to keep purchasing for me, and they were going to keep buying me gifts. And they had decided that they were going to do a llama. And this gift was purchased a little more than a month ago, but it never got around to me because they turned around and got screwed. They got screwed around, and it never got to into my hands. And finally, they handed it to me, and I look at the llama, and I can't figure it out. So it's not just that it's a llama. Folks, they're online right now. They're waiting for this. They're so excited for this. It's okay. So here it is. It lights up. It does one stupid thing that it does. It lights up in all these different colors. And they are so excited about this stupidity that they want me to keep this thing on my desk for all of my shows. And let me start by saying I love Apple. I love Dave. I DJ'd their wedding. Right? I've always loved them and cared about them. I thought that they loved me back. But it is obvious that they don't. And these two are the worst people I've ever met in my entire life. And you're going to get me a gift or something that I'm going to put out here that I could show that shows that my friends love and care about me. They don't do something awful like a llama. So just because I love them, I've already decided that this is the Dalai Lama. That's what this is, the Dalai Lama. And it will make appearances time and time again just to show how much I am disappointed at Apple and Dave. I'm disappointed in you. Do better in the future. Do better. Okay? Just so you know, these are the same son of a bitches who bought me a candle for my birthday. They clearly do not love me. They don't know what I like. They have no idea what I like. A llama and a candle. I mean, do you not know me? Everything is Star Wars-y. I looked right at it. Holy heck, that's distracting. I'm going to have a seizure. You see my point? They're not thinking about me. These are the people who claim to love me. Apple and Dave, ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause. By far the worst friends in history. I'm going to move that out of the way. God bless you. Anyway, moving right along. Plenty of news, plenty of views. By the way, do not freak out. I know I am wearing an Adidas jacket and a Nike hat, okay? You know, I'm not a branding guy. I don't care. I like this Nike hat. I love this Adidas jacket. Roseanne called me Run DMC today. Ironically, we're from the same town, Hollis, Queens. I've always loved this jacket since I was a kid. Her kid, on the other hand, says I look like a Russian mob guy because apparently that's all they wear. Anyway, but enough about that. Plenty of news, plenty of views to get into today, folks, because I've got Katanji Brown Jackson stuff all over the place, and I've got to break that nonsense down today. This woman cannot decide or cannot tell us what a woman is. She couldn't define that. We'll talk about that today. She got some questions from Ted Cruz today that she was baffled by. She got some follow-up questions from Josh Hawley today that she couldn't respond to. And look, I know that this woman is going to be confirmed, and I know that people are upset that she's getting harsh questions, or at least people on the left are upset that she's getting tough questions. Let me be very honest with you people. The left, leftists, liberals, whomever it is that they are, they always tell us what they fear most. And you've got people so far saying that guys like Josh Hawley are trying to get Katanji Brown Jackson killed for asking her questions about sentencing practices on people with over 600 photos of child pornography. He suggested that Josh Hawley, by asking her that, was trying to get her killed. Now, what does that mean? What is that? What's the deal with that? Why would somebody suggest that by asking that question? Because they are fearful that the American public might turn on Katanji Brown Jackson. They're not. Her polling is in the mid-50s, which isn't good, folks. Not for a Supreme Court justice of this stature. A black woman, the historic nature of said black woman, these numbers need to be in the 80s. But they're only in the mid-50s. That's not good. This woman should be a shoo-in. Okay? And apparently people are not exactly all that thrilled about her. So we'll play some of that audio. Plus, we've got to get into the fact that the Vice President of the United States, and this is going to sound like a show where I'm bashing black women, but I'm sorry, folks, you chose these people, not me. These were your picks. These are the people that you chose. Okay? But we're going to talk about something that I've already said, that Newt Gingrich has finally come out and said, and I know he's going to get bashed for this. We'll talk about that, and that is that Kamala Harris may very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth. Finally, somebody came out and said it. So we'll talk about that. And then last but not least, folks, we've got to talk about this right above my left shoulder, right here. I'm done with YouTube. We are finished. For those of you who don't know, my YouTube channel has been ended, discontinued. I got 4 messages today from YouTube, from their community guidelines, 4 separate emails for shows that I did on the 11th of March, the 8th of March, the 9th of March, and the 7th of March. In that order, I received notice from them that all of them violated their community guidelines, and they were giving me a 3rd strike 4 times and just discontinued my channel. It's over, it's done, it's gone. Channel closed down. So I'm done with them. I'm done. So I am officially on Rumble, and please applaud Rumble. They make it a little hard for you to do a live stream on there, but what the hell? They'll come around. YouTube doesn't want my business. YouTube does not care about me, doesn't care about what I'm doing. They care about community guidelines. And here's what they had a problem with.
If you love hurricanes, daiquiris, and, well, any rum cocktail, listen up. Captain Morgan's about to shake things up like never before. We're talking Bourbon Street, New Orleans, home to legendary drinks and unforgettable moments. But what if we told you the most iconic cocktails here have one thing in common? Hint, it's not bourbon. That's right, it's rum. And Captain Morgan is bringing unforgettable fun to Bourbon Street in a way you won't want to miss. Get ready for something big as we gear up for Super Bowl 59. Make sure to keep your eyes on NOLA's most iconic street. Who knows, Bourbon Street might just need a new name. Stay tuned for clues and get ready for the most legendary adventure yet. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company, New York, New York.
That one of my sponsors, Dinesh D'Souza, and his movie 2,000 Mules, that is questioning the 2000 election. Not allowed to do that. That's a misinformation tag. And we're going to talk about that, about this misinformation that everyone's using now, which is nothing more than censorship, which brings me right to the nonsense that we're seeing all over the place. Did I get another alert? Did Facebook just shut me down too? Anyway, I'm kidding. But we have to talk about that and so much more. But let's talk about another story that, let's give it up for Julie. Not my best friend, Julie. This is Julie B. up in Boston. Now, I love this woman. She's always going to be a friend of mine. She did something funny today. She texted me because she sent me the story the day before yesterday, and I didn't do the story yesterday. She was like, what? Not even a little bit on the story I sent you? So I'm going to redeem myself, Julie. My apologies to you. So for Julie B., this is a story she wanted me to share with you, and I have to admit, it's kind of funny. I have 2 dogs. If you've got a dog, you might be a little stunned by this story. It's kind of funny.
Tonight, a local dog shelter, or a local shelter dog, rather, is looking for a soft landing after being dumped by his owners because they say he's gay.
Thought you heard it all, right? A Stanley County Animal Shelter Facebook post says the dog's owner surrendered him to the shelter after he humped another male dog, which dogs do. Fezco, the shelter says, it's about 4 to 5 years old, weighs about 50 pounds. They say he likes other people, he likes other animals, he's a good boy.
He clearly likes other boy dogs.
The shelter is asking for local rescues to step up and take Fezco into foster before he is adopted.
I didn't understand that. I have to play that back. I heard it earlier, and it didn't make sense.
Local rescues to step up and take Fezco into foster before he is adopted.
What? Something about that sounded weird. Did he get into that water that's turning frogs gay? Not unless that water's in New Jersey, Amy. I'm just saying.
Local county shelters across our area, Drew, they do so much work with such little resources, any way that we can help ease the burden, step in and pull animals out and get them into foster or adopt them really helps.
And that guy looks like he's going to find a new home real quick.
Fesco's adorable.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. Fesco is probably not the greatest name ever, but I also heard a story today that people are upset about. This was on Reddit, I believe this story was, that people are outraged at these people who got a dog 2 years ago, and they named the dog COVID. Applaud those bastards. See, they called the dog COVID. People are outraged. Why would you call the dog COVID? I'm calling these people geniuses. There's going to be a conversation every time the dog walks into the room. Come here, COVID. What the hell? People will no longer come by the house. Are you afraid of dogs? Oh, no, dogs are fine. Oh, then you're going to love my boy COVID. What? I say this because I don't like company. I don't entertain. I don't like people over at my house. When people come by, it annoys the crap out of me. Please don't come to my house. I mean, I'd sooner call my dog Hitler. But COVID is such a great name, and I know they did it to tick people off. I'm sure they didn't think it was cute. I'm sure they just thought it was funny. He said, I would have just shortened it to 19, John says. I don't know. I mean, I kind of like the COVID name. I think it's cute. I had a dog. All right, get ready for the corny meter. I named a dog DOG. Yes, that's right. I named a dog D-O-G. D-O-G. I deserve all the consternation. But it was a really, really cute lap dog, and D-O-G was a perfect name. Some people thought, I remember the first time I said it, was like, oh, that's my buddy, that's D-O-G. And she goes, is that Japanese? Yes, she deserved to be slapped. Anyway, enough about dogs. Newt Gingrich has finally come out and said what we were all thinking quietly to ourselves. You may remember some of these classics from the Vice President of the United States, ladies and gentlemen, the person who couldn't get 1% of the vote during the 2020 primaries, Miss Kamala Harris.
Imagine a future. The freight trucks that deliver bread and milk to our grocery store shelves, and the buses that take children to school and parents to work. Imagine all the heavy-duty vehicles that keep our supply lines strong and allow our economy to grow. Imagine that they produced zero emissions. Well, you all imagined it. That's why we're here today. Because we have the ability to see what can be, unburdened by what has been, and then to make the possible actually happen.
This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
Oh, it gets better.
And talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
Excuse me a sec. What are you babbling about?
So I've been saying it for the longest, and finally, Newt Gingrich, he has told us what we all needed to hear.
Well, first of all, if you want a strong reason to pray for the health of the President of the United States, you are reminded again today that reason is the vice president. She's not only totally incoherent, he may or may not have cognitive decline problems at his age, but at her age, she's just dumb. I mean, let's be clear. Kamala Harris may be the dumbest person ever elected vice president in American history, and that's why people keep resigning. I mean, if you were her national security advisor and you were competent and you'd worked hard and you knew what you were doing and you watched her in Poland break up laughing when she's asked about Ukrainian refugees, you had to feel a sense of total humiliation. So I'm not surprised that that particular advisor resigned, because it's very clear that Kamala Harris should never, ever be allowed to leave the country.
He said she shouldn't be allowed to leave the country. She shouldn't be allowed anywhere. He goes on further to say she shouldn't even be allowed to leave the vice presidential quarters. She is. She's just really dumb. I mean, Dan Quayle is sitting back going, hey, all I did was misspell potato. What is going on here? I mean, this one, again, look, if you need to understand a colossal failure, okay, a colossal failure, the only thing this woman had to do, in essence, is show up. The vice president is a nobody. The vice president doesn't become a figure of any recognition until the final term or second term of the president of the United States. And then the vice president will then start to emerge on his own as something more than just a second fiddle. He's taken on humanitarian things. He flies across the country. He probably goes to some stupid peacekeeping mission. He rarely gets any spotlight. You know, there isn't any of that stuff that the vice president is even known for. I mean, think about something that Walter Mondale did during Jimmy Carter's presidency. There was no focus on him. You barely knew he was there until Mondale went up against, against Ronald Reagan for his second term, right? Nobody knew Fritz Mondale. Also the reason why he lost. And I think, if I'm correct here, I think Reagan won every state. Nobody knew who Fritz Mondale was, okay? Mike Pence, the only reason why we really know Mike Pence is probably because some of the things he said about Christianity and some of the times that, you know, he's in the media because he was kind of to the left. He was considered a radical Christian, you know, he had radical Christian dogma-like issues, at least according to them. But he's Mike Pence. He's not really, like, you know, nobody's paying attention to him, especially when you have somebody who's sucking all the air out of the room like Donald Trump. So Mike Pence gets real second fiddle. Barack Obama, Joe Biden. The only time Joe Biden was ever recognized during the Obama administration is when he had some gaffe, when he said something stupid. Right? And Joe Biden's been in politics all of his life. But nobody really paid attention to Joe Biden when Obama was in the room because Obama sucked all the oxygen out of the room. So you can find these people nowhere. Dan Quayle, perfect example. The guy had the right potato, for anybody to remember who this guy is. So nobody even paid attention. Dan Quayle, I said. Yeah, Dan Quayle. Nobody even knew who he was. You couldn't remember him. You don't even know what state he's from. Al Gore, for the love of Pete. Not only did he have to lose an election, but once he lost the election, you didn't hear from him again until The Inconvenient Truth came out. Now he's more known for that than he is for being a vice president of the United States. And what was he known for then? Gosh, his wife was in charge of the whole parental advisory stickers that went on album covers. He wasn't even at the forefront of that. So Kamala Harris, Dick Cheney, Jesus Christ. Okay, Dick Cheney, that's a totally different thing. That's just one out of all the guys that I mentioned. Can't forget Dick Cheney. But that being said, which actually goes to my point, Dick Cheney is the devil incarnate to the left. Dick Cheney might as well be, he's further than Darth Vader, okay? He makes Darth Vader look like, I don't know, the second coming of Jesus, comparatively. The guy's the lowest rated vice president in history. And Kamala Harris managed to outdo him. She's lower rated than the devil himself, Dick Cheney. Because she's absolutely incompetent. Now, I have to go get that book that was written about her and her rift with the White House, because trust me, it ain't cool. I hear that they are having the worst relationship right now. And I can believe it, because everything about it, people are resigning left and right after the Poland debacle. The National Security Advisor has quit. Everything about this woman is troubling. Everything she got was just it was a handout or a hand up. She accomplished nothing. Nothing. She's got no credibility. Even the man who she slept with and had an affair with, in order to get her name in a political arena, says that she wasn't worth. Okay, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. We'll put it that way. Said that America was going to regret ever allowing Kamala Harris into the halls of justice. And they have. She is a joke. Listen, I'm going to tell all of the quote-unquote women out there who are allegedly black, who put everything you had into the first African-American vice president, female vice president, and I'm going to say, get out there onto the poker table and grab all your chips and leave the game. Dump this stock. Because as Newt Gingrich just says, if something were to happen to Joe Biden, this moron is in charge. This idiot, and that's what she is. She is an idiot, is in charge. And you know she's an idiot. And you were so excited for this moron. And I'll tell you where you deserve the ass whooping in which you got on all of this. This is where you deserve to have, when your mama says you deserve the spanking, you deserve the spanking you're getting. Here's why. When you didn't bat an eye at the idea that she was nominated strictly because she was a female person of color, knowing everything you knew about her. Her record was out there. It has been out there. People complained about her, talked about her. People in the black community talked about her. And you voted for her strictly because you viewed her. Thank you, Gunnar. Because you saw her or you believed or suggested that she was a black woman. Because she didn't really stop anybody when she suggested it. She didn't really pause. She was like, well, I'm not black. I'm part Jamaican and I'm part Indian. She just said, nope, she rode with it. Gunnar says, she's beige at best. Gene said, our good friend Gene Pinkham, hey, man. He says, imagine Dick Cheney laughing uncontrollably at a serious subject. Imagine Dick Cheney laughing. Yes, exactly. Imagine that. Listening to this woman cackle. Hey, have you asked the vice president whether or not America will be taking some of the Ukrainian refugees? She's on the world stage. And again, let me go back to that old conversation that I had last week. You all remember it, about being the laughingstock of the world. That woman who said that to me in the middle of a conversation. I'm glad that we're no longer the laughingstock of the world, now that Trump is no longer here. Kamala Harris went to Poland. Do you think that there's in any way? It's so bad, Biden is there now. Biden had to go. Can you imagine that? The person who's supposed to have all their marbles made a mockery of it to send the guy on cognitive decline to clean it up. I mean, are we serious? Joe Biden for the cleanup? This guy's never batting fourth. He's a designated hitter at best at a game we're already leading by 7. And even then, I'd probably scrub him. Y'all got to be kidding me. 81 million people voted for this nonsense. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. There's just no way. Anyway, I want to say this before I move on to Katanji Brown Jackson. Does anyone remember this? And I want to thank Tucker Carlson for reminding me of this today. Does anybody remember this?
The first thing I would do is make sure we pass the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization, which I wrote. The fact I didn't write the reauthorization, I wrote the original act. The fact is that what happens now is that we, in fact, have to fundamentally change the culture of how women are treated.
We have to fundamentally change the culture of how women are treated. Biden goes on to say, talking about this conference call that he was with 15-year-old to 25-year-old women, and how that conversation was talking about protecting women, especially on college campuses and on a high school campi. That's what the conversation was. This is the guy who wrote the legislation about domestic violence, right? Against women. Under no circumstances should you ever hit a woman. We have to protect our women. This guy wrote the legislation. That was in 2020, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2022, and we have Leah Thomas. We do. In the NCAA, swimming against women with a penis. He has a penis. Like it or not. And this was the guy who just, what happened in 2 years? I mean, that's what I'm wondering what happened. He's not in cognitive decline. The whole orthodoxy just changed at the drop of a hat. Now, I bring this up because we have to go into Katanji Brown Jackson. And this was the exchange that got everybody up in arms.
United States versus Virginia, the Supreme Court struck down VMI's male-only admission policy. Writing for the majority, Justice Ginsburg stated, supposed inherent differences are no longer accepted as a ground for race or national origin classifications. Physical differences between men and women, however, are enduring. The two sexes are not fungible. A community made up exclusively of one sex is different from a community composed of both. Do you agree with Justice Ginsburg that there are physical differences between men and women that are enduring?
It's a simple question. It is. Do you believe it or don't you? I mean, I would give her credit if this was a dramatic pause for effect. But she's literally confused. This is a woman, I believe, who's sitting there, who was nominated because she's a woman of color, and can't answer whether or not men and women are different. If that's the case, Biden should have nominated a transgender for the case. But he solely picked a woman for the job, a black woman. It was the specific a requirement for his nominee.
Senator, respectfully, I am not familiar with that particular quote or
who cares?
Case, okay. So it's hard for me to
answer whether or not men and women are different, because I haven't seen the case. Now, I'm going to break down why that sounds so crazy and why people are really, really scared.
Okay.
Comment as to whether.
All right. I'd love to get your opinion on that, and you can submit that. Do you interpret Justice Ginsburg's meaning of men and women as male and female?
Again, because I don't know the case, I don't know how I interpret it. I need to read.
You got to be kidding me. She has to read case law and the Supreme Court case for her to determine what her answer would be.
Read the whole thing.
Okay. Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word.
Her response is, I'm not a biologist. So she cannot determine what a woman is. She can't tell you or define what a woman is, because the only person who can, in her view, is a biologist. Can you determine what a dog or a cat is without the guidance of a vet? Katanji? Can you discern the difference between a rabbit and an ostrich without counsel from a veterinarian? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. I'm not a meteorologist, but I know rain when I see it. Yes, exactly. I'm not an electrician, but I know you don't stick a fork in the outlet. I mean, this is absolutely stupid. And that, a good point, Rama. So biology is actually a factor then. According to Katanji Brown Jackson, yes, it is. So in order to have that question answered, I mean, can a biologist just walk into the room and say, I'm a biologist, and when she's hearing a case, and it says, okay, biologist, you tell us, what's the difference between a man and a woman? And the biologist says, there is no difference. I'm a biologist. Do we just go off that? Okay. John says, I'm not an airline pilot, but I know a 747 when I see one. I'll admit, I wouldn't. But I know a plane. See, this woman can't be serious.
The word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide. Well, so I'm not.
The fact.
Can you believe that? On the basic question on define a woman, Miss Brown Jackson says that she would have to hear arguments, which would pretty much say, I guess based upon her answer here, what you're saying is that it can be argued in her courtroom that what you and I deem as a woman might not be, that constitutionally there may be one shred in the Constitution or in some law that would determine something different than what you and I know as a woman? She's suggesting that it could be argued. How? And Marsha Blackburn says what she says at the end is very important. This is what we are up against.
People make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide. Well, so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
Yeah. This is progressivism. So at least George Costanza pretended to be a marine biologist. He got away with it. He saved a whale, for crying out loud. LA says, I'm not a biologist, but I know women and men have different XY chromosomes. Exactly. And again, this is what's crazy. So Ted Cruz went after her today in a follow-up to the Marsha Blackburn exchange.
Yesterday, under questioning from Senator Blackburn, you told her that you couldn't define what a woman is, that you were not a biologist, which I think you're the only Supreme Court nominee in history who's been unable to answer the question, what is a woman? Let me ask you, as a judge, how would you determine if a plaintiff had Article III standing to challenge a gender-based rule, regulation, policy, without being able to determine what a woman was?
So, Senator, I know that I'm a woman. I know that Senator Blackburn is a woman, and the woman who I admire most in the world is in the room today, my mother.
This is bad. This is really, really bad. That she has to revert to, I know I'm a woman, Marsha Blackburn's a woman, my mama's a woman, but when asked to define one, you couldn't. You just said my mama, Marsha Blackburn, and myself, they all women. Okay. What else?
It sounded as though the question was...
But let me ask, under the modern leftist sensibilities, if I decide right now that I'm a woman, then apparently I'm a woman. Does that mean that I would have Article III standing to challenge a gender-based restriction?
Senator, to the extent that you are asking me about who has the ability to bring lawsuits based on gender, those kinds of issues are working their way through the courts, and I'm not able to comment on them.
Okay, if I can change my gender, if I can be a woman, and then an hour later, if I decide I'm not a woman anymore, I guess I would lose Article III standing. Tell me, does that same principle apply to other protected characteristics? For example, I'm an Hispanic man. Could I decide I was an Asian man? Would I have the ability to be an Asian man and challenge Harvard's discrimination because I made that decision?
Senator, I'm not able to answer your question. You're asking me about hypotheticals and
I'm asking you how you would assess standing if I came in and said I have decided I identify as an Asian man.
I would assess standing the way I assess other legal issues, which is to listen to the arguments made by the parties.
So she would say, you've got a shot to prove to me, Ted Cruz, that you're an Asian man. We'll at least hear you out. This is a Supreme Court justice. Now, many people are saying, well, come on, Reese, that makes sense. She's saying that she's not making any final determinations on somebody's gender or on somebody's race. That's a problem. If she can't answer the basic question of what is a woman, if this person is Asian or Hispanic, if she can't answer those basic questions or those basic truths, that means that her vote on those issues, or if she is faced with them, that she would be looking for evidence to validate that claim that a man was a woman or an Asian was a Hispanic, or the other way around in this particular case. Yeah, how is she this unprepared? She's not. She's not unprepared. She has absolutely no interest in telling the truth about what she thinks, and that is that women can be men, and men can be women. Blacks can be white. Whites can be black. Rachel Dolezal, bring your case to the Supreme Court, because once this woman's up there, you've got a shot, young lady. But, I mean, I cannot believe that she's answering this, and she's completely disingenuous. Absolutely. If you need any further understanding of that, that this woman is a stone-cold liar. Stone-cold liar. Who is evasive, disingenuous, and dare I say it, kind of a bullshit artist. Listen to this re-exchange with Josh Hawley about the case where she sentenced a young man, an 18-year-old, with hundreds of images of child pornography to just 3 months in a federal prison when the sentencing guidelines were 10 years and a prosecutor asked for 2 years. He asked her, as a follow-up today, to yesterday's questioning, whether or not she regretted it.
Let me ask you about the Hawkins case. You and I talked about this yesterday. You've been able to think about it overnight. This is a case where you had an 18-year-old who possessed and distributed hundreds of images of 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds, and you gave him, frankly, a slap on the wrist sentence of 3 months.
Senator,
do you regret it?
I don't remember whether it was distribution or possession in the law. It was both.
Do you regret it?
In the law, there are different crimes that people commit.
Judge, you gave him 3 months. My question is, do you regret it or not?
Senator, what I regret is that in a hearing about my qualifications to be a justice on the Supreme Court, we've spent a lot of time focusing on this small subset of my sentences, and I've tried to explain.
You regret that we're focusing on your cases? I don't understand.
No. I'm talking about the fact that you're talking about
child pornography cases?
Very serious cases.
I'm glad we agree on that. Don't you think we should be focusing on
some of which involve conduct that I sentence people to 25, 30 years.
3 months in this case, Judge. Do you regret it? You haven't answered my question yet.
Senator,
do you regret this sentence?
Senator, I would have to look at the circumstances. What I'm telling you.
And again, she said she has to look at the circumstances. This is a conversation that he had with her yesterday. She's well aware of the case. And I've been informed earlier today, and I want to thank White Mike for giving me the info. Again, this was a kid, 18 years old, went to the Booker T. Washington School. You know, a good kid, as they put him. And again, this was sort of like a social justice situation. She felt bad for him. She was looking out for him more than she was looking out for the children. She is a social justice warrior, like it or not. I'll play the video here for you. In fact, let me just get to this because we've only got a little time left. But I know that she did. Oh, please don't tell me I got rid of it already. I hope I didn't get rid of it. I may have gotten rid of it. Damn it. I may have gotten rid of it. I did not want to, but that's okay. I can find it. I'll even play the audio if I have to. I don't care if I've got to just play the audio. I will do that because that you have to hear this exchange between her and Ted Cruz yesterday at the latter part of the I guess of her grilling. Let me see. That's not it. Yeah, here it is. Let me put this up real quick. I apologize, folks. No, I can't do that. No, I did that wrong. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to play it instead of putting it up on the thing. Here it is. This is it here. And the reason why I'm saying I'm talking out loud is because I don't want any dead air. Here it is. And I have to do the desktop audio on this so that I can get that on there. Let me turn this down here. Yep, sorry. Cancel and cancel. Sorry. That is why. Yes. There we go. I had to get that audio up, so I'm screwing up here. So this was the piece. Let me see.
Theory, as you know, originated at your and my alma mater.
Right. So here's the exchange that they had, and I want to get to this part where she's a social justice warrior, and she clearly gives her verdicts based upon the social justice mantra and critical race theory. But he asked her, she's on the board of the Georgetown school, a private school, and so they had a couple of books that they brought into the classroom. I played a little bit of this yesterday, but here's some audio from that.
Critical race theory, an introduction. They include The End of Policing, an advocacy for abolishing police. They include How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. They include literally stacks and stacks of books, and I'll tell you two of the ones that were most stunning. They include a book called Anti-Racist Baby by Ibram Kendi. And there are portions of this book that I find really quite remarkable. One portion of the book says babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist. There is no neutrality. Another portion of the book, they recommend to babies confess when being racist.
Now again, you can't tell me that you're on the board of a school and a book like this is floating around in the school and no one's talking about this book. A book that tells babies that when they're racist, they should apologize to them. So in essence, someone is chastising a child based on some arbitrary rule that person, some administrator or maybe some teacher, is determined to be a racist act. Let's say white kid doesn't want to share his cookies with a black child. Is that deemed as racist? And is the child forced to apologize for being racist? Timmy, did you not give Kajana your graham crackers? That's racist. Apologize. What? I don't like to share. I got nothing against her. What are you talking about racist? What's that? This is a K through 8 class, a K through 8 school. He went on.
Now, this is a book that is taught at Georgetown Day School to students in pre-K through second grade. So
I'm sorry, that's up to 7 years old.
4 through 7 years old. Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator,
why the dramatic pause? I mean, is that baffling to you? She's got to think about her answer.
I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that. But what I will say is that when you asked me whether or not this was taught in schools, critical race theory, my understanding is that critical race theory as an academic theory is taught in law schools. And to the extent that you were asking the question, I understood you to be addressing public schools. Georgetown Day School, just like the religious school that Justice Barrett was on the board of, is a private school.
Okay, so you agree?
So what the hell does that have to do with anything? So it's a private school so they can teach critical race theory? They can tell little white kids that you're racist because you're not sharing your graham crackers with the black kid?
Critical race theory is taught at Georgetown Day School.
I don't know because the board does not control the curriculum. The board does not focus on that. That's not what we do.
Then what do you do as a board? What do you do as board members of a school if it has nothing to do with the curriculum? Do you guys sit around and you eat cookies all day and talk about how great it is to be on the board? The curriculum never comes up to the board members at all? Or do you just sit around and count the money you make from all of the rich, wealthy people in D.C. who pay to go to that school? What is the board there for? if not about what those kids are being taught?
Board member, so I'm actually not sure.
Well, and I'll note that the board is chaired by Professor Fairfax, your college roommate who introduced you yesterday. So the two of you serve on the board together. Another book that is on the summer reading for 3rd through 5th grade is a book called Stamped for Kids, again by Ibram Kendi. I read the entirety of the book, and I will say it is an astonishing book. On page 33, it asks the question, can we send white people back to Europe?
Again, you know that this woman knows everything about that book, every bit of it. You know it to be true.
That's on 33. That's what's being given to 8 and 9 years old. It also, on page 115, says the idea that we should pretend not to see racism is connected to the idea that we should pretend not to see color. It's called color blindness. Skipping ahead, here's what's wrong with this. It's ridiculous. Skin color is something we all absolutely see. Skipping ahead, so to pretend not to see color is pretty convenient if you don't actually want to stamp out racism in the first place. Now, what this book argues for is the exact opposite of what Dr. King spoke about on the floor of the Lincoln Memorial. And are you comfortable with these ideas being taught to children as young as 4 in respect to the first book, as young as 8 and 9 in respect to the second book?
And the big question here is, you're on the board of a school who is, in essence, teaches against your own principles. You have stated that you do not believe that a kid should be chastised or be made marginalized based upon the color of their skin, told that they are oppressors, told that they are oppressed by the virtue of the color of their skin. You do not agree with that. Here, you're being pretty much handed evidence that is happening at the school that you're a board member of, that your best friend, former college roommate, the woman who introduced you to these hearings, you are all board members to that school. Where is your consternation for this? You haven't even questioned the validity of what Ted Cruz is laying out in front of you. Not once did she say, if my school is teaching that, it's wrong. If my school's teaching that, I do not want to be a board member there. She doesn't even say that.
Senator, I have not reviewed any of those books, any of those ideas. They don't come up in my work as a judge, which I'm respectfully here to address. In my work as a judge, which is evidenced from my near decade on the bench.
Okay, good. Then let's go back to...
Yeah. And again, nothing. And again, I've never in my life ever heard anybody, where is, like, look, we've asked over and over again of other people when we find out that they're related to something that most people would say abhorrent, unbecoming, probably a little off-putting. What do we say? We ask for those people to apologize for that, but no, she doesn't take any responsibility at all. She just says, I'm here to talk about my record. I apologize if this screen is frozen, but again, that's why you should probably go to Rumble. I'm getting text that it's frozen. My apologies. But yeah, I got to get out of here anyway. Oh, I wanted to get into this thing about... If you really want to show this, let me play this and then we'll get out of here because I've got at least 4 minutes. Try this on for size, ladies and gentlemen. And this should make you, at least for me, this should make you angry because it angers the hell out of me. And that is, if you need to understand how pathetic this woman is,